Hello and welcome back to Joe's Math Tools. In our session today, we are comparing fractions when their denominators are different and we're using our cross multiplication method. And if you're ready to see how you can compare your fractions using this method, let's get started. So in our session today, we are comparing our fractions and we're using the exact same fractions from our part 2 video. I think by using the same fractions and showing you a different method that you could compare them will help you to understand how you can apply these different methods and still solve the exact same question. Now the good thing is, even though both method works, with our cross multiplication sometimes it can be get a little bit tricky, and I guess in some cases it can be harder, but for different persons, different methods work easier. So this method may work easier for some persons, whereas finding the LCD is an easier method for others. So it all boils down to what approach best works for you. But with our cross multiplication, this is going to be similar to what we usually call the butterfly method, where you multiply the denominator to the numerator on both sides of the fraction. So in this case, you won't be necessarily having to worry about finding the LCD. So what I'm going to do to work through this process, I'm just going to rewrite our fractions at the bottom, and then we'll go through how this cross multiplication method works, because I don't want to get our working in the middle a bit messy across our box. So with the cross multiplication, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be multiplying my 3 to my 6. So we will be multiplying 3 to 6 to change our numerator. So 3 will be multiplied to 6, which will equal to 18. And then we're going to now do the exact same thing across the other fraction, where I'm going to now multiply 7 times 2, which will give us 14. And again, you can complete the process. I know some persons usually just multiply the top two numbers, and once they get those numbers, they tend to just answer the question. But if need be, you can still go through the whole process and multiply the denominator as well, where we get 7 times 6 to equal to 42. And this 42 will go in the denominator of both of your fractions. Okay, so at this point, after you've done the cross multiplication, we can see that 3/7 has the larger fraction in their equivalent form, which tells us that our 3/7 is the larger fraction. And that would be our cross multiplication method. And of course, as you know, we do have one more example to work through. And this would probably be an example of one of those questions that you may work where the number may be a bit larger. And in this case, for persons that know their timetable, the LCD would come in easier because they can just convert the singular fraction and then compare. But if you prefer the cross multiplication, you will have to go through the process of multiplying your 5 times 16. So we have 16 times 5, which will give us 80. So we now have 80 in the numerator. And then we're going to now apply those same steps to our next side of our fraction, where we multiply our 10 times 8, which also gives us 80. And then to conclude it, we'll be multiplying our 8 times 16. 6 eighths is 48, which will give us 128. So our denominators will be 128. And again, after we have performed our cross multiplication method, we see that both fractions are exactly the same, just like we did in our first and the second video when we did the LCD method, where we identified 5, 8, and 10 to 16 as equivalent fractions of each other. And remember that equivalent fractions are those fractions that equal to the same value or same amount, but the numbers are different. That's what makes them equivalent. They're equal, but the fractions are just written different with different numbers. But I hope this method was very helpful to you. I hope you were able to follow along with the examples, follow along with the steps, and hopefully you can apply these steps to a question that you may be solving to work out for your assignment. But as always, get some additional practice in, share, give the video a thumbs up if it was helpful to you, and I'll see you right here in the next session on Jules Math Tools, where the aim is to make math easy.